brain can finally kind of process some of what we've learned and kind of digest it. But welcome everyone that's joined the room. I'm excited to get started with a few new friends that I met at Inbound 15 this year, starting off with Jed. Hello, Jed.
Hello.
Jed, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Jed Record. I am an entrepreneur. I've started several companies. The current company I'm running is called Likeforce, and we train and hire college students to manage social media for small businesses in the communities where those students go to school. And in addition to that, I also advise large firms, bigger companies, on how to use social media and digital marketing and how to bring that into their traditional marketing programs.
Great. And I was excited to meet you finally in person this year.
That's right.
Inbound 15.
That's right.
And Logan, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Jessica. Obviously, a pleasure to meet you. We met at Inbound. That was my first one. I'm out in Sacramento, California. I work for a digital marketing firm that specializes in like small business, B2B. So yeah, like I said, excited to be here on my first blab.
Woohoo! Yeah, and everybody that's just joined the room, you can tell Little Bird, let other people know that we're live, and share this with others if they want to get a recap of Inbound 15.
I'm totally embarrassed of my backdrop. You guys have all this cool stuff going on, and I got this gray wall.
No, it looks good. It highlights you. That's it.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah. And Chung, how are ya?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's super cool. My first time here. And I met Jessica at Inbound as well, my first time. So complete newbie at Inbound 2015. So, I mean, what I do is I'm an agency marketing person and sales guy. Yeah. And yeah, so that's basically what I do. I have a blog called morecustomersonline.ca. So that's,
and it was
morecustomersonline.ca. Yeah.
It was kind of funny when we connected at Inbound. We had met at one of the Hubspot like pub crawls.
Pub crawls.
He was like, "Hey, He was like, "Hey, I think I sent you an email. I know Jessica with a K. It's not that common." He was like, "I sent you an email," and I was like, "Oh yeah." So I look back and I'm like, "Oh yeah." Some of those emails you miss, but when you connect with people on social and in person, it's nice to kind of put a face with a name. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so I know all of us kind of had different tracks, and last, I guess I'll introduce myself. Jessica Phillips, now Marketing Group and Relationship Marketing System. I am a relationship marketing evangelist, third year at HubSpot's Inbound Conference, each year growing bigger and better, and just more and more people to kind of call through. So there's not time to go to every session that you really want to go to, but there's a lot of information that you can gain from each one. So I thought it would be cool just to have a recap and talk about kind of what our favorite takeaways were from each session and share that with the people maybe that were there that didn't get to attend the sessions, but also for the people that weren't able to come to Inbound. So first, let's start with you, Jed. Kind of what were some of your takeaways, maybe in the social media space or just any of the sessions you went to? What were some of your big takeaways?
Sure. And right before I start, what I would like to give a little shout out here to my new friend, Logan, who I am now extremely jealous of because I just saw his Twitter profile. And if you see, his Twitter profile is truly now awesome. So, so jealous.
Shout out to Nick for that picture.
Thought I could have taken a picture like that. And who took that, Logan?
It was Nate.
It was Art.
Nate for now from Now Marketing Group.
Okay, I'm so
we took turns.
Ticked off at myself right now because that is, excuse me, badass. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Loving.
We all did those panoramic pictures and then got some pictures also at one of the hub crawls too. But those, I was like, we're going to treat those pictures like The Hangover. Like you look at them once and delete it. It was from the Wista conference. Chung, you were in those pictures, but I'm not sharing the link. I'm just saying.
Oh, so I'm just staring at this picture. I'm just so mad at myself because that was definitely awesome. So I have some notes here that I'd love to share, but I don't want to take up all the time. So just interrupt me if I'm mentioning too many of them. But you asked me about the social media side, and it's so fun to come to a big conference like Inbound and see all of the variety of the different types of marketers are there doing all kinds of different things, and social media just playing, just a small role in that. But in the flip side, it was fun to see my social media buddies giving lessons and talks that really showed the breadth of where social media can play in a variety of aspects throughout the organization. So people like Peg Fitzpatrick were just really fantastic at showing how important visuals are, not just in social media, but in across all the content marketing spectrum that is inbound marketing. And her session was just fantastic. I actually attended it twice because there was an encore, and cheering her on. She's a good friend of mine. So that was a lot of fun because she was able to give some really specific tips that you could just take home with you and use the very next day at work. So that was a real value add. And I feel like everybody in attendance was jamming down some awesome notes and getting to use those the next day. So another person,
her sessions are all good.
Yeah. So, and another person who may fall into the social media space, I consider YouTube a social media network. But Amy Schmittauer just rocked her session with just an amazing talk, similar to Peg in that she just gave you some really actionable steps that you could take. And that's what these sessions were all about, right? So there were different tracks, and this was the tips and hacks is what they called it. I don't like the hacks phrase, but I guess that's just kind of the what we call it nowadays, like a life hack or a growth hack. It's a hack. These weren't hacks. These were actual really good tactics and strategies that you can use in your business to really amplify your presence on social media, but basically your presence online as well as a whole, because video, as we all know, can span way beyond just YouTube. And she was also talking about some good live streaming tips as well.
Can you share one of them with us?
So for the YouTube side, she had an awesome slide. I actually have a picture of the slide here I could put on my thing, but
Great.
I don't want to interrupt. Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. It'll take me a minute to do that. But basically, she had a great slide that kind of showed how she viewed YouTube, kind of how you go about the process, the workflow of getting your YouTube videos put up onto YouTube. So the reminder that, once you upload the YouTube video, it takes a while, and most people just walk away from their computer and come back and after it's uploaded. Well, what she was saying is, look, there are plenty of forms to be filled out that you can do during the process of the uploading, and they're really important. You should take them seriously, like the keyword, section. I just usually just drop in a few keywords that I think are relevant to the video. But she had a great tip. Every video you do, if you are in a particular space, are going to have keywords every time that are the same. Why not create a text file that has all of your relevant keywords that are going to be spanning across your videos, and put them all into that text file and just copy and paste, and boom, you've done most of the work. And then you can drop in the ones specific to that particular video. And the biggest add on that tip is that you won't forget that one keyword, right? Mm-hmm. That might be one of your core things that you talk about. So
that's good. I know YouTube
I thought that lets you
actually save them too, like in the back end. Like, I don't know if she talked about that, but you can save it. Right. And like that way, when you go to put in the video before you publish it, like set it to unlisted or private or whatever, but then have those saved in there. I learned that, I think, in one of her earlier sessions, and it was great.
And it can pre-propagate that. And she was saying, there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes you don't want it to propagate every time if you do different, like a variety of different videos. I'm kind of on that side, so I have a couple of text files based on if I'm uploading an instructional video or if I'm uploading a more marketing oriented video. I'll put those different ones in there. But it was a great tip because it forced you to kind of get those things out of the way that everybody doesn't like to do and they wait till later. But sometimes, and most actually every time, so once you upload it, YouTube kind of uses that info to categorize your video. And if you don't do it until later, you're missing like the prime spot for your video to be found, which is as soon as it's uploaded. Because the more recent your video is, the more likely YouTube would be sharing it if it has appropriate keywords and everything in it. So that was, and she had like hundreds of tips like that. That's great. I didn't even get to write them all down. Yeah. But I'm hoping to go back through slides or notes. Like what's the story on the sessions that we attended, if we can go back and
inbound.org, and I'll actually post it in the notes here. You can go there and get some of the slides from the presenters there. But then also HubSpot just tweeted out about an hour and a half ago that they're uploading all the videos like within the next week. So hopefully not all the sessions were video, because that would just be a nightmare for them to try to get everything done. But a lot of the keynotes and the bold talks are recorded. So, but that inbound.org has a lot of slides. And just, I've been searching like the hashtag, inbound 15 in order to find like the people that have uploaded their slides. A lot of them are on SlideShare too.
Okay. Okay. So I have two more highlights I wanted to share. And this one was kind of an obvious no-brainer, but Aziz Ansari and Amy Schumer rock. Those two were awesome. They were definitely my two favorite, big namers out there. Not that the others didn't. Chelsea Clinton, super smart girl, but just didn't really take the stage like either, Aziz or Amy. And it was just so fun. That part was really fun. And Club Inbound, boy, did they do that up. So when we go to Logan to hear his feedback, I might just go through and do like a slideshow here on my video piece of some highlight of the events, of the pictures that we took, because man, it was really done up, and that was very cool.
It was really cool. And you can't beat the free drinks and appetizers and all that fun stuff after it. And nothing like making connections.
That was pretty nice. For sure.
Yeah. Well, very cool. So what else? Chung, like what did you get from some of the social media pieces? Like what do you see as like the next big trends or tips or hacks, as we've heard it mentioned, that you gained from the conference?
Let's see. So in terms of social media, so funny. I didn't actually go to a lot of the social media sessions. I think I only went to one, and it was by Sonia Simone of the copy blogger fame. Yeah. And for me, it was just, I guess the biggest takeaway for her that I found for her was, she was explaining why they kind of ditched Facebook. And they had a lot of publicity about it. A lot of companies, people wrote on, why it was a mistake and things like that. But, for them, the takeaway for me was that they just didn't love it. Like they didn't want it because, they're not a huge team, and they didn't love what they were doing in terms of using Facebook, even though they're getting good results. So they just stopped using it. And so for me, the takeaway is that, if you're a small team, focus on what actually, gives you that energy, that love that you want. So that was really important. There's so many platforms that we could use. Right. And so, they stopped using Facebook. They stopped spending time and effort on Facebook, even though they're still getting a lot of shares from Facebook. They're just not going in.
Which is crazy to me, because if you're not updating it like frequently, they say like 1% of the content is actually seen, even if you're active, and there's over 1,000 algorithm. Murray Smith's session was talking about all the Facebook, EdgeRank, like how it decides what's showing up in the feed and what's not. But I do believe I am a fangirl, if you will, of Facebook, but I do think that if you don't have time to manage all of them well. Pick the ones that do work for your audience and just do it well versus half doing, all of them, I guess. But
yeah, it's true. I don't know where I heard this from, but like 10 things undone is worse than like one thing done. And a lot of people have, 50 projects going on at the same time, but none of it has launched. And so that's, that's what I got. And really her presentation was, she was interesting. I mean, it was an encore session that I couldn't get into. So, so that was, in terms of social media, that's
I didn't get to attend that session, but I'm sure it was fantastic. And I think that one of the, and I've seen a talk that she's done on video before, and they mentioned that, I think this is what Jessica was getting at, going where your audience is.
Right.
And my feeling is they felt their audience is not getting value in Facebook. So that's why they chose to back off of Facebook, because their audience was telling them, hey, we're not really scoping Facebook out for some great blogging tips.
That makes perfect sense, because you have these bloggers who are spending like tons of time on the internet, and therefore like more power users you think are maybe using Twitter and Facebook. Right. I mean, like I said, Jessica said, it's great for e-commerce and it's great for a lot of marketing activities, but at the end of the day, it's a little bit of a place for the unwashed masses, so to speak, to sort of pile up and write racist comments on things that just don't need to be commented on. So I think that their audience is probably a little bit better informed, like more bloggers and things like that. So it made sense to,
and it highlights the power of context. So for people in the audience who hear the context, people talking about you've got to market in context. Well, when you're on Facebook, the context is, at least for me and for my friends, the context is we're keeping in touch with our friends or our family. Yeah. I'm looking for my sister's kids' photos, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for tips on how to write an awesome blog. And even if I saw tips on how to write an awesome blog on Facebook, I'd be like, why is that even on Facebook? Like, that's not an authoritative source that I go to for blogging tips. So it's the context.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
They're on Facebook, but they're not consuming that info on Facebook.
Which that makes perfect sense, because Facebook's that sit down restaurant, kind of kick your shoes off, and you're really very much in the mindset of hanging out with friends and family. So unless their content is speaking to that, where your kind of work hat's off and you're not searching for those blogging tips, it would make sense. I could see them using it more for branding on themselves and their team, if that was a focus for maybe recruiting, but not necessarily.
That's what I would do. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, great idea there, Jessica.
But it just depends on, what their focus is, I guess. So, Logan, what about your social media tips or takeaways?
But like for me, social media kind of blends into the whole marketing scheme. But to piggyback what Chung said, like it all started for me with Seth Godin when he went on that rant about kind of getting your ducks in a row, and it's like. And then he threw ducks at people, which was awesome. So we spend so much time planning and less time, I guess, like marketing. So I was just thinking about this. Like I was kind of like agonizing over the path of my Google Drive folders. Like, is this the right folder for this document to be in? And that I couldn't have just exemplified it more. I spent like 5 minutes trying to figure it out, moving things around. I was like, wait a minute, I should have been writing this autoresponder campaign like 5 minutes ago. So like, I thought that Seth just did a great job kicking it off. It was kind of like a kick in the pants to say like, stop worrying about the path to your folders and like start getting some work done. You're going to find out that in 3 months, it won't matter what order that path was in, because it's pretty darn easy to use tags to search for things anyhow. Yeah. So that was like a great way to get it started for me. My favorite presentation overall was called Technical Marketing is the Price of Admission, by a guy named Michael King from iPullRank.
He's awesome.
And he was just so good. It was the perfect combination of like hacks, Jed, as like the popular way to put it is. And I did notice those were the most popular talks by far, were the hack talks. But it was the perfect combination of like actual usable, practical takeaway style stuff. And then like just kind of like light a fire, inspirational thing. And I'll never forget what he said, in that if you're not willing to become a technical marketer, to maybe learn a bit of JavaScript or to, learn some things like that, then a different marketer is just going to come and eat your lunch. And it's something that I've kind of known for a while, but like to hear him say it and give like practical examples was just huge for me. And then the last point about that one was that he said a good marketer, a technical marketer, should be a conductor. The conductor doesn't play every single instrument. The conductor doesn't need to code every single line of the website or the app or the API integration. He just needs to conduct it and lean on his team to help him. But the problem a lot of people has is, and I've had the same problem myself, is that I think, well, I don't know how to code this and I'm not going to learn. So I'll just wait until my dev team wants to jump on it. But in their mind, they're probably thinking, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. So why would I kind of follow his direction? So the trick is be prepared to do it yourself, like to get in there, code it yourself, and then show them results that are winning results. And then they're going to jump on your team. And so that was like you know what, you just got to kind of buckle down and figure out something that's a little bit hard, but not too hard.
Yep.
Then the last one, I'm just going to go really quickly through this was, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about like organizing your content to inspire action. It was by a woman named Tamsin Webster. And it was one I just kind of wandered into and it wasn't on my agenda on Friday.
After the wait and they're like, cut off. Sorry, you're going to have to find something else. Yeah.
And so I was just so glad I went to it because first of all, it's a great presentation. Second of all is, you heard like content, the word maybe like 5 million times while you're there and you're kind of getting sick of it, but you'd like to know kind of like, how should I do this? Because content is writing and writing is designed to be read and then acted upon. So her whole thing was kind of this like do, know, believe process that people go through when they read stuff to inspire action. And it's basically following a formula for your content. Well, before someone's willing to do something, they have to kind of believe that the result is going to be something beneficial to them, to the environment, whatever. And then they have to know that doing it isn't going to put them at risk and it's not going to embarrass them and it's fairly easy for them to do. And then, of course, then they do it. And it was funny because the example she used was a guy who, I can't remember his name, but he made a TED talk about how to dry your hands.
Yeah, I've seen that, the towel. Shake.
Yeah. So, yeah,
so good.
I watched, and it was a perfect example because I watched that 2 years ago and I wash my hands that way every single time. And I'm like a frequent hand washer. So that's like 10 times a day for me. And I've been doing it that way for 2 years. So talk about inspiring action. And she showed how that his content, it took you in the right order to like get there. By the time he told me what to do, I was so ready to do it and willing because I knew there was low risk in it for me. I knew that it would save this amount of trees per year and blah, blah, blah. So again, I don't know if it's been posted yet, but that one I would highly recommend going and checking out the slides.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the
video.
And
then SEO. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one would be, I don't know if it was in one of the bigger halls. So maybe.
Yeah. The TED Talk video is what I was thinking.
A lot of the stuff for me. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Joe's. I have that.
Okay. Cool.
A lot of these talks went back to SEO, and like 2 years ago, Tim Ferriss said that like good content is the new SEO. Well, it's kind of easy to say that if you have such a huge following. If you've got millions of people who know who you are and 2-3 bestseller books. Mm-hmm. But what this conference did, and something I've been kind of learning about independently, is that good content is the new SEO, but you have to work your butt off to make sure that it's done correctly, and promoted and get those backlinks and some really good strategies with how to do that. Some of the HubSpot guys had that. And if anyone's listening who's more interested in that, just look up Brian Dean from Backlinko. He was mentioned at least 5 times by name there, and I'll read anything he does. So go check that out if you're interested in SEO.
And some of my big takeaways.
So yeah, that was kind of
sorry.
Go for it. I'm ready.
I was going to say some of my big takeaways with the social piece were something that I think we're all seeing, especially with like using Blab right now, is that video is taking over. 55% video growth year over year until the year 2020 is like what's expected with Blab, embedded Facebook videos, with YouTube, just this lean in approach with people being able to see who you are and just authentically see you. Video is definitely taking social media by storm, and I don't see any way that it's stopping right now with the way it's going. And and this kind of goes off what Chris Brogan said, was that consumers are the real-time marketing ambassadors for the brand and your critics. So I think it's important that we show this human side to ourselves, and that's kind of what like Peg Fitzpatrick was talking about, and just everyone kind of summing it up is that authenticity and like intimacy, I guess, in your social relationships, the more that people can connect with you as the brand, and with, businesses as themselves, the faster that you're going to grow. That, and that the free lunch stuff is over. I mean, you need to put some kind of ad budget to it, especially if you're using Facebook. Like, you can be good and you can start this organic growth, but at some point you're going to kind of plateau and have this slower growth pattern where $50 a month will get you to the next level that you're looking to do. So just being willing to put that ad budget behind it, I think, is really, really important. And then just inspiring ambassadors with it.
So many people forget to promote. They work so hard on the content, so hard on researching it, writing it. I've got the perfect content, but it's not performing. I posted it on Twitter once.
Yep. Yeah.
Publish and pray.
Right?
Yeah, and just
I posted on Twitter one time, posted on Facebook one time.
Yeah, having your campaign and resharing that stuff, on Twitter and resharing on Facebook and really engaging others, spending that time, just as much time engaging as you are just publishing and posting. So that's why I think, the pro blogger, to Chung's point, that they said maybe we're backing out on Facebook because they didn't have the time to engage and make it worth their while. If it wasn't working or performing for them and their audience wasn't there. But that was some of my big takeaways with social.
Maybe they're spending the money to promote it on other channels, right? So if you have a budget to promote your blog posts, why spend that budget on channels that you don't think are being productive for you? So
exactly.
Yeah, they're probably promoting it on those other channels. You got to promote your content. The content is nothing if nobody gets to see it. So you got to promote it.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree with what Jed's saying and Jessica. I mean, in terms of promoting content, I kind of follow the 80-20 rule where 20% of your time is spent on creating the content, and then the other 80% is spent on promoting it. And I mean, a lot of people know that, but one way that I kind of help myself make sure that I'm actually spending more time promoting is I have a checklist. So I have a create content, and then I have a promote content. And then if you look at my Evernote note, under create content, it's like 5 steps. And then under promote content, it's like 25 steps. And so it allows you to see, all right, am I on track, or am I just like dicking around and just, hey, I'm going to write something great, and then hopefully, it's going to be found. I mean, it doesn't work like that, right? Yeah. So that's something that's been really useful, creating a checklist to see exactly kind of where I'm at in the promoting part.
Right. So what about some of the other stuff that we gained? I know that, social was just one piece of it, in the content marketing and leadership and hacks, as Jed said, or some of the other sessions. What were some of your guys' other takeaways or biggest aha moments? Like, why didn't I think of that kind of thing from the session? So many.
I guess, so I can't contribute too much to it because I did go to mostly just the social ones, and mostly just to support my friends there. So this is an event that I wanted to attend for networking primarily, to see some of the sessions, but I knew with the way the schedule was, there's just no way I was going to get to the sessions I wanted to get to. So I just had to, embrace that and just get to enjoy the ones I was able to get to. And I think that's one of the notes I had here. Just so many fantastic speakers, and just so hard to be able to get to see the ones you wanted because maybe they were doubled up. I remember there were a couple of really big name people that I wanted to see, and they were all scheduled like at the same time. Like Mike Stelzner was speaking at the same time that Chris Brogan or something like that. I was like, I want to see both those guys, but Stelzner went out. That
I was going to say,
a
who won?
Really good. Yeah. So that was a really, well, again, it's different for me. I don't know if I'm unique in this, that I was there to see people more than the sessions, but so I know Chris Brogan, or I'm online friends, right? Yeah. So I got to hang out with Chris there. We had lunch a couple times. We had a good time. But I don't know Michael Stelzner. I've blabbed with him a couple times, and so I really wanted to meet him, and I wanted to see what his talk was all about. And I'm glad I did, because he had one of these really great talks that kind of came out of nowhere and was like, wow, why aren't more people? And the place was packed. I mean, there's a line out front. So yeah, that's why the reason why more people weren't in there is because they wouldn't let any more in. But he did.
Right.
He showed us how we could be using Google Analytics a little bit better to see how our content was performing and to be promoting that content that is outperforming the rest of your content, whether it's social media shares or blog posts. You can tag all of these things with Google Analytics tags, and then go back and create reports in Google Analytics to measure how those pieces are being shared. And the ones that are being shared more frequently than others are the ones people are interested in. So go promote those, share them some more, because they are converting better. And he even showed us how you can see, for him, conversion means signing up for their newsletter. And he said, look, more people were coming to the site from this article, but there was a higher conversion rate on this other piece. And so we felt if we got that other piece in front of more eyeballs, it would get shared and convert more. And so it was a really good analytical approach for people who maybe aren't, living in Google Analytics all day. And it gave us some real.
Yeah, he has a podcast on that too that talks about how he sets that up. It was like 6 months ago he published it, and it was really good. He has a serious
I recommend
methodology.
Google that podcast. Yeah, it was not difficult. I came away at the end of the session thinking, man, he could have just covered this in a blog post, but it wouldn't. The blog post would never have motivated me to go back and actually get it done like he motivated me to do, because he showed me it's not as hard as you put in your mind as you think it is. And it's super important because you need to get those converting referrals out there. You need to republish those converting referral items, and you need to, understand which items are converting. Otherwise, you'll end up writing blog posts all day long about something that people click on but never convert on.
Did any of you guys go to the Growth-Driven Design session by Savvy Luke?
No, but I've been looking into that.
Oh my gosh, that has changed my world. That one was dynamic. Yeah.
Is there any chance, can we go back into inbound.org and see the
even
notes
better?
from that
He
talk?
has a series of videos from it. So I will post it in the notes here. But the growth-driven design, what it was is that, your website is your number one salesperson for your company. So why is it they say, you should update your website once every 2 years, but we update it and we're like, put this big investment into it, and then you just let it sit there. You may update your blog or a couple slides or a landing page or what have you, but you don't go in and just build in the next phases and really take it in depth and, narrow down into your personas and all of that you should be doing with inbound. With the growth-driven design model of websites, they talk about, setting up the first strategy, like who you're wanting to talk to and who you're trying to target. Focus in on that as almost a phase one, but then you never stop working on your website. Like each month, there's another focus and another drill down and another element to it. And you treat it just like you would your social, but it's on your web. So you continue building and targeting new personas. And it's a completely different way of looking at your web. And that way it never goes stale. You never have to do this complete rebuild, redo of your website because it's continuing to grow from there. So I'm like, that's definitely something that we kind of knew, but it's always like, we'll start planning for it. We'll update your landing pages. And then in 2 years, we may redesign. This is like a continuous growth model with your website, which makes perfect sense.
And it helps you charge a little bit more accurately because let's face it, everyone's built a website for a client and then their business changes a week later and they want something and it makes sense to give it to them, but you're just like, so anyway,
they're like, what's this responsive stuff? We just did our website. And you're like, right. So yeah. What other takeaways did you guys have? What other sessions were like, aha?
I didn't.
Go ahead.
Did you guys hear about this? Like what was it? PR 2020 sort of value-based retainer model or whatever.
Yes.
That was really cool. So I bought that book and I read part of it on the flight home, but I did fall asleep.
So good.
Not because of the book, but just because it was a pretty exhausting conference. That was highly interesting. And it's like, why not charge for value, instead of hours? And like, I was just like, yeah. I spoke with him for a little bit, and I was just like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
So that's something that I'm kind of diving into right now.
Yeah, I have his book. I can't reach it with my headset, but the Inbound Agency Blueprint, genius.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
That's
just
the one.
changes your mind about how you're billing, as far as if anybody that's an agency and that's working is with clients, instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to do an hourly cost for this. It's, hey, the client, if it takes you a little bit longer to do something, sometimes it's on you, not them, but charge off value, then everybody feels like they get, what is due, I guess. But it's a different way of looking at it. Kind of similar to the growth-driven design, is that it's an ongoing process that you work with the clients and have that inbound kind of retainer set up for long-term success too.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that session, but huge proponent of value-based pricing. I speak on it at conferences. I speak on it at universities. And if you are charging anything hourly and you have a private business, you're a single owner business, or you're a big company and you're charging anything by the hour, call me. I will make you a lot of money. Because you're not getting paid fairly.
Yeah.
If you're billing hourly, you're not getting paid fairly. Call me. I'll make you some money. We'll talk, and you can get paid.
No, I mean, it's so true. One of the things with value-based pricing is that some people hear of it and they know of it, but they don't really know how to implement it. For example, I was talking to this agency owner just a week before Inbound, and he's pretty much just him and a couple contractors, and he's not really sure how. Like, he prices hourly, but he doesn't really know if that's accurate or not. And so I talked to him about value-based pricing. This is what I use. And it's basically, hey, you really only need three things. And the three things are, like, what's their ultimate goal? Like, why do they want to do this project? Not just, I want a website. Like, if you want a website, some companies want a website because they want to look bigger. Like, that's their ultimate goal. Some of them want more revenue. Some of them want a path to sales. They don't actually want a website. So if you can figure out, number one, what the ultimate goal is, then you're good. The second thing is that I told them was that you want to figure out, like, how, if this project is successful, how would that look? Like, what would that look like? Because then this gives you an idea of what you'll be judged on, and you'll know what actually components will go into the project. And then at the end, it's, all right, well, if this project is successful, like, what would this be worth? And it could be a number, or it could be more of a feeling. But if you can figure out what the ultimate goal is, what success looks like, and what the value of achieving this project is, then bang, you have your three ingredients for actually charging based on value. And I found that, and he was like, oh man, that's like super useful. And I use that myself, and I just find that it's really simple.
But the truth with the value too, is that then you're more motivated to dive in to helping with the project. So it's a collaboration between the client and the agency or whomever's building it, is because if they see what's in it for them, like, what is going to be my ROI? Is it going to be, is it going to be making me more money? Is it going to be making more traffic or whatever? But if they can see the end results, then they'd be more amped to know, hey, okay, I want to dive in. I want to give this the time it deserves to make it stand out and make it right.
Yeah, and most importantly, it aligns your goals, right? So it aligns you working towards what your client's working towards. And like, Chung was alluding to, a lot of times they say they want something. I want a website, but what they really want is something different.
Yeah, I love that.
I want a place that's going to convert. Right. And, a landing page is much better than a website in terms of converting people. So, exactly. I'm just agreeing with you guys in another word.
No, you're right on.
Other words, yeah.
I mean, what I found in the past is that when you charge hourly, or if you charge project-based, sometimes you charge too little and you resent the client and you resent the project and you resent yourself. And the worst thing you can do is resent yourself, because then you lose confidence, you lose motivation, and then it just goes downhill from there. So I find that if you can, because I mean, us, like, as service providers or advisors or, whatever you want to call us, we're like on the same side as the client. Like, we're all trying to achieve one goal, and that's to help them grow. And I find that when you charge hourly, you may as well be an employee. You may as well just be like, hey, like, I'll do it for like $30 an hour. I mean, just it's a different mindset change, but also if you can figure it out, your business becomes more fun and more profitable and more enjoyable. Yeah.
Right, and there's no question.
The one area I think that charging by the hour would be a good idea is just like for meetings, for those people who always want to meet. And you're like, this actually didn't require a meeting. This could have all been handled via email, but you wanted to meet, so $80 an hour.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then from there, like, okay, you know what? We don't need to meet.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
It's funny. All right. Well, any other takeaways from Inbound, the new tools, or anyone else that was at Inbound that is in the side panel here in the room want to pop in and talk about what they cared for?
Yeah. We should have some guests pop in and give their feedback if they've been to Inbound, or even if they just have questions about Inbound.
Any volunteers to pop out if we let a guest pop in?
Yeah, I'm happy to pop off either way.
All right.
And just how great was the design of the keynote presentation?
Phenomenal.
Was that not like the sexiest design slides you've ever seen?
Yes, it was. Like, I love the opening. They went bold like in 2013 when they did that huge video, and it was like, I use that in presentations. It's on their YouTube channel. If you go to Hubspot on YouTube, and it shows you like their Inbound keynotes and their opening session. And it's true. It's not a conference, it's a movement, and it's just us all coming together to talk about, permission-based marketing, which is inbound marketing, the marketing that builds relationships, not inbox. And I loved it. So, hi, Ian. I see Ian just jumped in. Ian, were you at Inbound? Or anyone else that's in the room in Inbound? Yeah, and Wes is here. He wanted to be at Inbound, and I told him he needs to come next year. But I was trying to share all the HubSpot updates. Okay, so we have somebody that wants to jump in.
You can pop me off, Jessica. I'll watch.
Right. Thanks, Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just click the X above your name.
Oh, I have to. Okay, I see the blab.
No, you're good. Thanks. Okay, ring in. These pictures are great. You took so many. Jed. Hello, how are you?
Hey guys, how you all doing?
Good.
Good.
Hey, Cheval.
Hey Jed. Hey John. This is great to chat here. Missed out. I mean, seeing the pictures by Jed and hearing y'all chat is just realizing how much missing out on the Inbound conference.
So, have you been in years past or no?
Never been to Inbound before.
Have to go. Next year it's in November, so you have to come check it out. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. Interesting. All right. I'll have to plan it out. But guys, I'm trying to think of a question. I mean, I heard something from Chung. He said something about like charging prices. Like if you're offering services like hourly. Can you elaborate more on that? Like say, like if you're like a newbie freelance writer or a social media consultant.
Yes. Okay. So if you're a freelance writer, and Jessica and Jed, you guys jump in anytime you want. Sure. It's so funny because that guy was a freelance writer, and he was also like, that was his profession. And so the three things that I mentioned was that get really clear on what their ultimate goal is, get really clear on what success looks like, and then get really clear on the value of that success. Okay, so for example, if you're gonna write, let's say he was gonna create ebooks, and the thing is that people don't want ebooks. People want what the ebook is going to do for them. And so if you can figure out really like why do they actually want an ebook, and ask questions, like, okay, so tell me about like kind of your top 3 goals, and then from there you can kind of figure out if an ebook is even the right thing that they need. And so that's like the number one thing, figuring out their ultimate goal. And you want to ask some basically higher level questions to figure out what their business goals are, and then kind of how that relates to the ebook that they think they want. Once you know that, and let's say you do find that, it is an ebook that they want, Okay, so you want to kind of figure out what, like, if this ebook is done, right? It's ready. Like, how would you know that it's working? Like, how would you, like, what things would you be looking for? What does it need to look like when it's complete?
So yeah, Chung, you touched on a good point. So, and what he's saying is value-based prices is not saying, hey, I know we're going to meet for 2 hours to discuss the ebook that you're wanting. We're going to research then for another hour, and we're going to come back and write the ebook, and then design it, which may be X amount of hours, and then present it to you, and then there may be revisions. So instead of counting in all those little tedious hours, you just say the value of this is X. And that includes your strategy, your design, your delivery, and making sure that it's a quality product that you and I both can agree on that we like. So it's basing it on the value.
And the key to value-based pricing, and the reason why people have a difficult time implementing value-based pricing, is because you have to creatively look at the value that's being created by your work. And you have to always think about the higher level, the higher order value that's being generated from your work. So from that ebook, if it's an ebook that shows you how to start a career in, let's say, sketch art, right? So how much does a sketch artist make, and can that person have a career in being a sketch artist without that information that's in your ebook? And how long does it take for that person to realize the value of being a sketch artist after reading your ebook? So I would say it's safe to say that the earnings that person makes from sketch art within the 6 months after ordering your ebook is income that person wouldn't have been able to obtain without the knowledge in your ebook. Right. So the dollar amount that ebook is worth to that person could be thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, you're not going to charge thousands and thousands of dollars for the ebook, but the importance of value-based pricing is to communicate that value to your customer, so that when you ask them for $99 for the ebook instead of $9.99, which most people ask, you can communicate the value that this person is going to, with this information, this person is going to be able to have a successful career in being a sketch artist, and that could lead to $50,000, $20,000, $15,000 of income in the next 6 months. Is that worth a $99 investment? I think it is. But most people sell their ebook on sketch art at $90.99 because they think that's what the customer is only willing
and
to
pay.
pay.
And to Jeff's point, like, it really depends on who you're trying to go after as well. If you're trying to sell an ebook to a solopreneur, it doesn't matter how much value you build. They don't have the money, and they're not willing to pay the money. But if you're targeting, say, a HubSpot inbound marketing agency who's doing $1 million, you can charge a lot more because they have the money and they see the value of the ebook.
Well, I would disagree with that slightly, Chung. If you know Sue B. Zimmerman, the Instagram expert, whom Jessica and I got to meet the other day, she makes and charges quite a bit of money from solopreneurs who are selling little knickknacks on eBay and Etsy, and she charges $1,000 for a masterclass on how to use Instagram. Now, who would imagine somebody making money selling stuff on Etsy? Now, I guarantee you their income level is less than what you would be looking for in terms of annual income, Chuck. But they're paying $1,000 for her masterclass, and it's because she is an expert at communicating the value that they'll be able to derive from her class. And so regardless of whether you think they're willing to pay for it or not, if you're communicating the value, and you got to obviously believe that you're truly providing them that value. And Sue B, if you ever talk with her, you know that she truly believes and I'm a believer. I'm a believer that she's creating that value for those customers, and they're getting their money's worth at $999 for a
because she
masterclass.
gives them the tools. She gives them the actionable thing. It can't just be fluff that you've already heard time and time and time. Again, she's found her niche. She's aggregated all of the results that she's found that's worked for that, and delivers it right there. So I think that's definitely working.
And to Jed and Jessica's point, I think a lot of times it is relative, and if the pain that you're trying to solve or the goal that you're trying to help them achieve is great, like they're emotionally and intellectually involved in actually making that change, then you can charge $1,000 for a masterclass to people on Etsy and on eBay, because there is that, like, they see the value, and when we see the value, we're going to buy, even if we can't come up with the money. Yeah, so I mean, I completely agree with that.
Right, because that's going to return on investment. So, yeah. And
guess whose place I visited?
Did you go there in Florida? Or Cape Cod? Is it Cape Cod?
That's the studios of Subi Zimmerman.
Wow.
That's her. So that was a lot of fun. I got to see some real behind the scenes stuff.
Very cool.
That was pretty neat.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks
Thank you.
for the question.
Hey, thanks for the question, Sean.
Welcome, guys. Let someone else jump in.
All right. Thank you. Bye. All right. But yeah, I mean, and somebody else feel free to jump in as we're talking. We'll be wrapping it up in about 15 minutes here. But, just great takeaways. I think the other thing that I really took away from the session, just kind of from all the different courses, I went to some that were leadership, some inbound marketing, some social, and really to sum it all up, it was really strategy, of course, like we've been talking about with, just thinking differently, that it's an ongoing, it's not a one and done. You have to keep improving it, whether it's your website, your social, yourself, and whatever you're doing, just keep improving. But then also go bigger, bolder, with your content. Don't use the fluff. The fluff is just noise in a sea of content that's all trying to stand out. So going bigger and bolder, and just not being afraid to, hey, I know that photo. Not being afraid to stand out.
Look who's in the middle of that picture.
I tell you, that was like the one day that I dressed down. Like, I'm always this like dress up person. And it was the last day of the conference. I'm exhausted, slightly hungover. And I was like, if they're like, just wear a t-shirt. And I was like, all right, well, I'll throw a collar on underneath. And that's the day you run into like everyone, of course. But it worked out. It was all good. It was a fun picture.
Yeah, that was fine. We were all wiped out, but those conferences are fun. You don't have to be dressed up for it. It was a fun time. And I just I'm going to bring this picture up, and I'm going to talk about this one second before we go. Yeah. We can't see everybody who's in this picture. Oh, darn it.
I see Vincent.
So in this picture, is Vincenzo Landino. And that's Darren Rose to the right of him. That's pro blogger Darren Rose. And on the left in the pink is Subi Zimmerman. And in the middle is Mike Stelzner. And for people who don't recognize those names, those are some big hitters in the social media industry, which is the industry I'm in. And we were having a fantastic conversation about the role of live streaming and how to live stream an event without giving away what people are coming to pay for. And it's conversations like these from the industry leaders and face-to-face and getting to meet these folks. Darren, for people who don't know, that's the gentleman in the classes. He is from Australia. Mm-hmm. So it is not likely that he and I are going to get to meet very often, but here I was able to meet him at Inbound and have these really good conversations, meaningful conversations. And this is what I was at Inbound for. It was for these little side conversations to get to know other experts in my industry better, to collaborate and come up with some ideas. We were coming up with ideas here on how to live stream Social Media Marketing World, which is a conference that Mike puts on. And
love this conference.
This was what I came for, and this is what I really enjoyed about Inbound, was having this time to meet these folks, talk with them and have these types of conversations. So that was a lot of fun. And that would probably be the highlight. If you ask me what was my highlight, that would probably be it. Not so much the sessions, although I really enjoyed them, but meeting those industry experts and
that's what it's about.
Getting to know them, man, so fun, so rewarding on a personal level because I interact with them online. So it's so rewarding to kind of share the same physical space with them, but also on a professional level as well. So and I can't wait to meet Mitch Jackson. Mitch, when are we going to get together, man? Waiting for that.
Yeah, so, that part's definitely cool. And then just other people that just are like-minded, like the speakers and the people that are thought leaders in the space that we all look up to, we all follow their content, we all listen to their podcasts, but even the others that are just up and coming or that are going through the same struggle as us that we're just meeting online via tweeting, and connecting with the conference, just not being afraid to just stop and talk to someone, and you'll never know, what their story and their background is. I know I walked up to Chung's table and I was just like, hey, just going to sit down here and have a conversation. It ended up, there was a lot of things in common. So that is what it's all about. I know Social Media Examiner, Jed, have you been there to the Social Media Marketing World Conference?
No, I didn't go this past year, but you will find me there. So anyone wants to see me, I will be there, but that's in April. I'll be at Social Boom this weekend in Chicago. So anybody watching who's in Chicago, I'll be in your town this weekend, and we'll be able to hang with Kim Garst and friends.
Yes, Kim is great. They all are.
I won't be at Periscope Summit, Mitch. Sorry. I'll be in San Francisco next week, but I'll be at Blab headquarters next week. That'll be interesting.
Nice. Did you see Joel's session yesterday on
Joel's show last night?
Yeah, Joel's show last night on Blab with Scoble. They were doing Robert Scoble.
Yeah, they were doing all the dancing and stuff. That was a lot of fun. That Blab Talk Live, that is my favorite show on Blab. For those of you who don't know it, it's 10 o'clock at night on weeknights with Joel Com and Vincenzo Landino. Again, two friends I was able to spend a lot of time with at Inbound. So a lot of fun to hang with them there. And you can see them live every night on Blab Talk Live.
Yeah. Mitch, to answer your question, okay, so the biggest takeaways and the unexpected, HubSpot rolled out a lot of new tools that they're rolling out. They're actually they have a free HubSpot platform that's just for getting started, where you can connect in your own CRM and your own email, ongoing lead in. Yes, thank you. And they also have an ad platform where you can ping for the ads right inside your HubSpot, and predictive lead scoring, which I'm really excited about. So I will I pasted it at the top. I'm going to copy it below again with all the connecting to their next session, where they're going to go out over the training on all what's new with HubSpot. Mitch, I'm going to share this right now. Here you go. So check that out, and you'll love it. But that was what was really surprising. And honestly, my favorite session was I would say the growth-driven design, but also Brene, the very first session, just on vulnerability and just how our mind plays tricks on us sometimes when we hear things, and just being willing to be open and have a conversation about what we're thinking and feeling. But that was a great session. I can't wait.
Were you
to
at that one, Sean?
No, it wasn't.
Brene Brown?
No.
She was amazing.
I slept in.
Man, you missed it on that one.
Yeah, that was great.
I related.
Really good.
I don't know if Chung would have related as I did, because I was thinking to myself,
that's awesome.
Brene, this story is getting a little bit long-winded. What's this, when are we going to get to the punchline? And then she started talking about she was describing an argument she was having with her husband. And then she said, I had in my head, this guy's not listening to me. He's just blowing me off because he's out swimming in the water. And then she told the full side of the story, where he had in his head, he was going through a panic attack, trying to keep his kids from drowning. And his wife's trying to chit chat with him. And he's struggling just to kind of stay afloat and keep the kids safe. And totally related to that, because I've had plenty of conversations with my wife where we had different things in our head, different perceptions, right, of what was going on. And it really made you sit back and think, next time you get in an argument with somebody, consider what are the perceptions in their head over what's happening and versus yours. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Yeah. A lot of times that's happened to me as well, where I think just the main thing is like, you know, when I'm having a talk with my wife, a lot of times, you know, as men, we don't, like, we think we know everything and we're like the problem solver. Like if she raises a concern, we jump in, even though they actually don't want the problem solved. They just want
to be heard.
You the problem. Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. And then as men, we're like, why do you want to do that? Like, when you want to solve it. So I think a lot of times it's just kind of moving to the other side of the table and then just kind of sitting where she's sitting and just like kind of sit there and just, you know, listen. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
You're beautiful, honey. You know, give her a hug and call it good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. It was great to catch up and talk about some takeaways from Inbound 15. I'll be following up with a blog article on this and all the notes we put in that we didn't have time to talk about, all of the stuff that we grew from Inbound 15. But I'll be sharing that later. And thank you all for joining. And I know there's some other good ones.
Yeah.